Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. One of the things I am most proud of when it comes to my YouTube channel is my viewer demographic. I have viewers that range in age from 30 to 70 plus, and I have a few under 30 as well. I started this channel when I was in my early 40s. I recently turned 50, and in case you missed it, I did recently upload a video talking about 15 must-have beauty products to have in your makeup kit over 50. And in the comments of that video, I did receive one from a woman in her 70s, and it said, Risa, what about those of us in our 70s? And my reply to her was, I titled this video 50 plus because I'm hoping that anyone who is 50, 60, 70 will understand that the products I've shown in that video are what I feel would be best for them to have in their makeup kit. And I also let her know that everything that I talked about and recommended in that video, I would recommend to my own mother, who recently turned 76. Aside from my mother doing a beautiful job at demoing my lashes that I launched back in January, it had been a while since I had done a full makeup tutorial on my mother. Actually, I think it was for her 70th birthday, so 6 years ago. And in those 6 years, unfortunately, my eyesight has gotten a lot worse, and when I try to do other people's makeup, it's a lot more difficult because I just can't see those little details. So as much as I would like to have done a full makeover on my mom again, we did it a little differently this time. I took my mom to a MAC store. Here is us going into South Coast Plaza in Costa Mesa, California. She came with my husband and I on a little getaway to California to get out of this Las Vegas heat for a bit. So I booked an appointment for her at the MAC store. I called in advance and I asked to speak to a manager just to give her a heads up as to what we were doing and be sure that the makeup artist would be okay appearing on camera and on YouTube. So what I'm going to show you today are the 5 things, the 5 products and the 5 techniques that made the most significant impact on her look and just made her feel so much more confident. Now, if you know me at all, I am a glam girl. I love to dress up as often as possible. I love to spend 30, 40 minutes on my makeup, another 20 to 30 to 40 on my hair. And my mother and I are different in that regard. While my mom likes to put on a nice outfit and go out for a nice dinner and apply a little bit of makeup, she never wants to do a really full glam look. Maybe for a special occasion, but on a day-to-day basis, she wants to look like herself, but better. So the makeup artist started out by matching the foundation that she was going to be using to my mom's skin. And I was very curious as to what MAC foundation she was going to reach for. And by the way, the makeup artist gave me her business card with her name on it, and I cannot find it. Before this video goes live, I'm going to search through my luggage and see if I can find this business card so that I can put down below in the description box her name in case any of my Orange County, California viewers want to go visit her at South Coast Plaza. After she color matched my mother, which by the way, you always want to color match along the jawline and sometimes even down to the neck. You never want to try to color match yourself to a foundation by using your wrist or the back of your hand or even your forehead. This is the best area to test a foundation for a color match. Unfortunately, you're going to have to wait a little bit until later in this video where I reveal what foundation the makeup artist used on my mother because she actually started with the eyes. She did the color match and then moved on to the eyes, which brings me to makeup tip number 1. Well, I guess you could say the color matching in this area was a tip, but that's not a tip that relates specifically to mature skin. So tip number 1 is to incorporate a cream eyeshadow base that also works as an eyeshadow primer. Many times on my channel, I have spoken about the importance of using an eyeshadow primer, especially if you have mature lids and or extremely oily lids. And I've spoken about using tinted eyeshadow bases to neutralize any discoloration on the lids. But what I did not know was that the newer formulation of the MAC paint pots actually has a primer in it. This MAC paint pot in Groundwork was placed all over her lid and it instantly gave her eyes some dimension, and she was extra excited when the makeup artist told her that she didn't really need to apply anything else on a day-to-day basis. She could simply use the Groundwork paint pot as her everyday eyeshadow. But because we were going out for a nice dinner that evening, the makeup artist did go a little bit further and apply some powder eyeshadows. So she used this MAC eyeshadow palette called Unfiltered Nudes. And she mostly used a combination of the neutral browns. We did want to go a little bit smokier on the outer corners. And that brings me to tip number 2, which is to use a press and blend technique. If you saw my Hooded Eye Masterclass video, this is the technique I go into great detail on. I will have that video linked in the description box as well, which, by the way, my mother wanted me to tell my viewers because she says she's often had a problem accessing the description box of a video on mobile. So I'm going to just tell you really quickly, if you are on your mobile phone and you are on YouTube and you're watching my video, right underneath the title, you'll see how many views the video has, how long ago it was uploaded, a little bit of text, and then the word more. And once you tap more, that will bring up a portion of the description box, and then you just hit more again, and it will give you the full description box of the video where you can find all of the links to the products and the other videos that I mentioned. Okay, back to tip number 2, the press and blend technique. If you notice, this makeup artist is using her fingers to gently pull up on the lid. I know you've heard for years and years, don't tug at your eyes, don't tug at your eyes. Every makeup artist will tell you this. However, those makeup artists, most of the time, have not hit the point in their lives where they are doing makeup on mature skin every single day, like we are on ourselves. Or maybe not every single day, but I think you understand what I'm getting at. I truly feel that unless you've experienced doing makeup on mature or very hooded eyes or very crepey lids over and over and over again, you may not fully understand that a little bit of light tugging or pulling is necessary. Because with that lid skin that's no longer taut like it was when we were in our 20s, we have to lift up a little bit in order to access the skin, especially if it's more crepey and you've got some folding on the lid. You want to be able to get that shadow underneath there, which is why you see the makeup artist doing a version of this technique. I do mine a little bit differently, but just slightly. I do more of a packing motion and then a blending motion. But as you can see, she is using very, very small taps and pats and brush strokes versus a lot of this that you often see, just swirling and swirling and swirling. That works for taut skin, not so much for very mature eyelids. So she does more of what I do, which is that patting and blending technique. Tip number 3 is to add color to your brows. I have spoken about the importance of a good brow over and over in my YouTube videos, but it's really, really evident when you're doing makeup on mature skin. The brows can give your face instant definition, and that's what my mom loved about it. For my mother's brows, the artist used the Big Boost Fiber Gel. My mom actually still has nice brows, but they are a little bit lacking in color, and there's a little bit of a gradient from light to dark to gray. And by adding the fibers, it builds up the brows a little bit while also giving them a nice even tint. So she was perfectly content with that. Afterwards, the artist did go in with a brow pencil to define them a little bit more, but my mom said she probably wouldn't do 2 steps, so the brow gel it was. And she was so happy when the next night she went to go do her own makeup. She applied the brow gel in the Groundwork paint pot. She felt so proud of herself and so confident. I could see it in her face. Now, some of you might be thinking, Risa, why didn't she have these things already? You're a YouTuber, you're a makeup artist. Shouldn't she already own those products? The answer is yes. I do give her a ton of makeup, and I often give her little tips here and there. But as I mentioned toward the beginning of the video, it's been a while since I've actually done her makeup. And every time I've seen her before even owning these products, of course, I always thought she looked great. I never thought she needed a lot of help. Once in a while, I'll tell her to add a little bit more mascara or maybe a little bit more blush. But she, over the years, has learned quite a bit from me, I think. She does watch all of my videos. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this, because I was very curious to see what another artist would do, what techniques they would use, and what products they would recommend to a 76-year-old woman. But yeah, I went into this very curious and excited myself. Tip number 4 is to forego using a lot of concealer and use more brightener. Brightening products like this one from MAC that the artist used on my mother is a much thinner consistency than a lot of concealers on the market. And they make such a huge impact. And at a certain age, most of us do have darker circles under our eyes, more discoloration, and a brightener is going to make such an impact. And in turn, it will allow you to use less concealer, which we all know, even with some great concealers for mature skin on the market right now, finding the perfect one that doesn't make your under eyes look more aged, doesn't settle into those fine lines, doesn't look cakey or crack when you smile. Let's face it, that's a difficult thing to find. I try to give you as many suggestions as I can, and I do think those concealers are great, but I really loved this tip of using more brightener and less concealer. It really was game-changing to see it with my own eyes. I've tried it on myself using a brightener and then a concealer, but to see it on someone with even more mature skin than my own, and just seeing what the brightener alone did for her skin was just transformative. And it was transformative to my thinking. I had always felt that you should use a little bit of brightener and then more concealer, but when in reality, you should be using a little bit more brightener, a little bit less concealer. All right, we've finally gotten to the foundation step, which by the way, we did no bronzing, no contouring, because the artist and I both felt like it wasn't really necessary. And my mother said herself that she would probably never use a contour product or even a bronzer. So we were trying to keep it as minimal as possible. So as I was saying towards the beginning of this video, I was very curious to see what MAC foundation she would choose for my mother. And she ended up doing a combination of the MAC Face and Body with the MAC Pro Longwear Concealer. And she mixed it on a mixing tray and applied it with a brush to my mother's face, which of course earlier on she had prepped and primed, and I will have all of the products that were used on my mom down below in the description box. My mom typically uses the IT Cosmetics CC cream. She loves that because it has a built-in SPF. She likes the coverage. She just feels like it's worked for her. And again, I never thought my mother's makeup looked bad. When she would come out to dinner with us, we'd meet up with her, I never looked at her and thought, ooh, her foundation is too heavy and cakey. It always looked really, really nice. So I told her, you don't have to stop using your IT Cosmetics, but let's just see how it goes with these two. I'd never seen this done before. Of course, as a makeup artist, I have mixed foundations before, but it never occurred to me to try this combo. Of course, I had heard of MAC's Face and Body Foundation. Top makeup artists have had this in their makeup kit for years. It is supposed to be one of the best for the face and body, the most natural looking, long wearing, great under flash photography, great under lights of any sort of filming. And makeup artists just love it. And it comes in so many different colors, and the consistency is very, very light and looks like skin, which is why I, as someone with oily skin and large pores that wanted more medium to full coverage, always stayed away from this. But now that I know that I can put a variable amount of this long wearing concealer, which I have talked about on my channel before, by the way. I have been using this off and on for years. It's been in my kit for years. So when the makeup artist applied this combo to my mom's skin, I was truly blown away. So I immediately said to the artist, oh yeah, we're definitely buying those two because I want to try it on myself. So that night, I applied this combo to my skin and I loved it. It was a little bit dark for me. This combo was a little bit dark for me because my mother has far more olive undertones than I do, but I had used a self tanner earlier in the week, so I still had a little bit of color. So what I'm trying to say is that this combo worked beautifully. And the shades are N2 in the Face and Body and NW25 in the Pro Longwear Concealer. So if you have mature skin and you have not yet tried this combo, I highly, highly recommend it. This is a Your Skin But Better combo that you can adjust to match the coverage level you desire. So that really concludes the tips that I learned and that my mother learned during this 1.5 hour makeover. I'll admit I was a little surprised that the artist used a powder blush versus a cream blush, but I've never been opposed to powder blushes on mature skin. If the blush is a high quality formula and not real hard and chalky, it can definitely be worn by someone in their 60s, 70s, 80s. And the shade that the artist used on my mother is called Melba. And this is the lip combo that was used. It actually came in a set, and I ended up buying one for myself as well. I loved the combo so much. Even though I already have a Soar lip pencil at home, the trio was such a good deal, I really couldn't pass it up. And here we have the finished look. You can see how excited and happy my mom was with her look. And then came the really fun part, choosing the products that she was going to take home with her. As I mentioned, we purchased the Face and Body Foundation and the concealer. And then we got her the MAC Paint Pot, the MAC Fiber Brow Gel, and as I was just saying, the lip set. The reason why we didn't purchase the brightener or the eyeshadow palette was because I already have those items barely used here at home to give her, as well as blush. I told her that when we got back home, she could take whatever blush or blushes she wanted. And that was it. Overall, it was a great experience. And seeing my mom so happy just made my day. I really hope that all of you who are in your 60s and 70s and 80s that might be watching this video, I hope you will all embrace how beautiful you still are. And by you even clicking on this video, that tells me that you do care about your appearance. You still want to put your best face forward and present to the world on the outside how good I hope you still feel on the inside. In case you were wondering, I purchased all of these products at MAC. Nothing was given to us for free. I do want to thank the MAC store at South Coast Plaza in Costa Mesa, California for allowing me to record the session and for setting it up so that my mom could have the artist's undivided attention. As I mentioned, I'm going to do my best to get the name of the artist so I can give her a real shout out for her participation in this video. I couldn't have done it without her. If you enjoyed this video, I really appreciate you giving it a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I hope you will consider hitting that subscribe button and joining the Risa Does Makeup family. I do upload new videos at least twice per week. You can also find more content from me over on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook under the same username, Risa Does Makeup. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope to see you in my next video.